Hajime was a weakling who was left in a labyrinth to die alone. After eating monsters and absorbing their abilities, he becomes overpowered and forms a group of freaky girls to seek revenge on his betrayers. However, he ends up getting distracted with his new busty teammates due to too many plots and decides to clap them instead. But before all this, Hajime suddenly awakens inside a dark cave within the Great Orcus Labyrinth, a dangerous dungeon filled with terrifying monsters. He's confused and shaken, unable to understand whether he's alive or dead, and starts looking for a way to escape the dungeon. While exploring, he suddenly witnesses a rabbit-like monster being attacked by wolf creatures. But instead of running, the rabbit brutally unalives both wolves with powerful and fast attacks. This terrifies Hajime even more. But then a massive predator appears out of nowhere, tears off the rabbit's head, and devours it like a cat playing with its prey. Horrified, Hajime turns to run, but the huge monster slices off one of his arms. The monster then starts eating his severed limb while trying to move forward for more. In that moment of desperation, Hajime uses his special ability called Transmute, which lets him reshape objects and manages to escape temporarily. He runs through the tunnels and eventually collapses from blood loss and faints. When Hajime regains consciousness, he finds himself next to a glowing sacred crystal. It's a mythical mana stone that he had read about before. When mana becomes saturated, it drips down from the stone in liquid form, and this holy water can heal any injury. Hajime uses the liquid to stop his bleeding and begins recovering from his injuries. While resting, he starts thinking that there's no way a sissy like him can defeat such a huge and powerful monster. He feels helpless and questions why this is happening to him. Memories flood his mind, showing scenes from earlier. Hajime and his classmates had entered the Great Orcus Labyrinth together with the intention of gaining power and completing a mission. During one battle, a classmate named Amanogawa saved Hajime from danger and told him to work harder. Later on, their group found some rare glowing crystals high above them, and one girl pointed out that they were knowledge crystals, extremely rare and difficult to find. A boy then reached out to touch a crystal despite warnings not to go alone. As soon as he made contact, a magical reaction triggered, and the entire group was teleported to a new location filled with monsters. The terrified group used a divine protection spell to shield themselves, but it soon wore off against the overwhelming enemy force. A selfless Hajime used his transmute ability to try and fend off the monsters while his classmates made their way across a bridge. However, one of his teammates deliberately attacked him from behind, causing him to fall off the collapsing bridge into the lower levels of the labyrinth. Hajime couldn't understand why his life was suddenly full of betrayal and pain. Karori, one of his classmates and a healer, had previously come to him asking to stay by his side and promising to protect him no matter what. She said she had a big dream and couldn't bear to lose him. But now, despite her words, even Karori couldn't save him. Hajime was left to die in the dark, confused and filled with rage. Still, he made a decision that he would survive and do anything it took to return home. To keep himself alive, Hajime cleverly traps two wolf monsters and begins eating their flesh raw. But soon after, he begins screaming in pain, and his body starts mutating. His hair turns white, his DNA starts changing, his strength rapidly increases, and he stops feeling pain altogether. When Hajime checks his status plate, he's shocked to find that his level has gone up, and he has gained new skills, including lightning magic and wolf-based attributes. With his transmutation ability, Hajime collects magical stones and ores to craft weapons. He builds a revolver-like gun, and gives it an underwhelming name, Donner. He also creates blasting bullets using the stones and prepares himself for battle. Now stronger and more dangerous than before, Hajime tests his weapon by fighting another bunny monster. Using his new gun and lightning powers, he eliminates it with ease and eats it to absorb more abilities. Now that he's overpowered, Hajime goes to confront the monster that took his arm. He soon finds it and boldly declares that he will unalive it and eat it. The monster charges at him again, but Hajime easily dodges the attack and fires multiple bullets from Donner. One of them ends up slicing off the monster's arm, and Hajime eats it mid-battle like a barbarian. He then brutally electrocutes the monster before shooting it in the skull, eliminating it finally. Hajime has now become a powerful being who refuses to die, and his only goal is to eliminate everything in his way. Hajime then thinks of using his transmute ability to get out of this labyrinth, but suddenly remembers that there are 100 levels here, and he doesn't know what level he's on currently. While Hajime is busy surviving underground like a madman on drugs, his classmates are up in the royal palace trying to explain themselves to the king. They tell him how, while exploring the Great Orcus Labyrinth, they accidentally triggered a trap on the 20th level, which teleported them all the way to the 65th level. There, they came face to face with the behemoth, a creature so terrifying even the bravest of them would wet their pants. However, the annoyed king reminds them that they were summoned here to fight, not for a field trip. His advisor then reveals that the demons of this world have figured out how to control monsters, and humanity is hanging on by a thread. The students weren't just dropped into another world for fun. They were summoned by the prayers of the people, chosen to protect this kingdom from destruction. As all this is being explained, Shizuku, one of Hajime's teammates, starts drifting into her thoughts. She remembers how Kaori, her close friend and healer of the group, promised to fight by her side even though she wasn't built for combat. Just then, she notices one of her teammates, Hiyama, talking to himself rather nervously. She asks if he's alright, but the guy freaks out like he's seen a ghost and quickly bolts away. This strange incident makes Shizuku recall how Hiyama has always had issues with Hajime in the past. Shizuku then goes to her friend Kaori, who has finally woken up after 5 days of being unconscious. The first thing she does is ask about Hajime, and when she learns that he's still in the labyrinth, she breaks down in tears. Shizuku consoles her and promises to help her find Hajime one way or another. Deep below the surface, Hajime keeps pushing forward through the dungeon. He eventually comes across a massive gate that's sealed shut with strange locks. He tries to open it, but doing so triggers two nearby monsters who suddenly wake up and attack. Without wasting a second, Hajime shoots one straight in the eye and drops it immediately. The second one blocks his shots and tries to put up a fight, but Hajime stays calm and reloads his gun. He notices that the monster doesn't stray far from the gate, but Hajime uses a hypercharged attack and takes it out for good. After the fight, he searches their bodies and finds 3 glowing orbs. He inserts them into the mechanism on the gate, which finally opens. Inside, he finds a dark chamber filled with thick, strange magical energy. In the center of the room, a girl is sealed inside a block of stone. Hajime turns to leave, thinking it's not his concern, but she begins screaming for help. Hajime still doesn't want to help her, as he believes she's too dangerous. But when the girl claims that she had been betrayed too, he finally changes his mind. The girl then reveals that she's a vampire, not just any vampire, but a powerful one who once tried to protect her people. But her strength made others fear her, and her own uncle and ministers turned on her. They tried to eliminate her but failed due to her healing ability, so they locked her here instead. Hajime carefully listens, and for the first time in a long while, he feels like he can trust someone again. He then uses all his strength and somehow breaks the seal, freeing the girl. She doesn't even have any clothes, but they still manage to put up a straight face as if everything's fine. Hajime tells her his name, and when he asks for hers, she says she doesn't want to be called by her old name anymore. Hajime thus gives her a new one, Yue. The girl excitedly hugs him with her sweaty body, but just then someone fires arrows at them, and Hajime injures himself to shield her. He quickly pulls out the magical water and pours it over his wounds while Yue removes the arrows from his back. They soon notice a massive crab monster standing right in front of the exit like it pays rent there. Realizing they must fight, he gives Yue his jacket, picks her up on his back, and turns to face the monster. Hajime starts firing, but the bullets barely leave a dent. The monster charges forward with brute force, and Hajime tries everything, even tossing a bomb under its feet, but nothing seems to slow it down. Just when it seems the monster's going to turn them into minced meat, Yue decides to step up. She slides down from Hajime's back and suddenly begins sucking his blood like it's her protein shake. Turns out, his blood is supercharged with mana, and she knows it's the fastest way to regain her strength. While Yue feeds, Hajime uses his transmute ability to stall the monster just long enough. Once she's finally ready, she fires a huge blue energy blast called Azure at the monster's head. The impact is solid, but the monster is still left standing, while Yue collapses from exhaustion. Hajime encourages her to try again and points at the same spot he hit earlier, thinking that a well-timed combo might finish it. Yue nods, though she warns him her next shot won't be as strong. Hajime then distracts the monster and gives Yue the signal to strike it with her Azure energy. As soon as she does so, Hajime climbs up the beast and blasts it at point-blank range, finally ending its pathetic life. Later, while eating the meat of the dead monster, Hajime casually tells Yue that vampires were believed to have gone extinct 300 years ago, which means she must be at least that old, but Yue just glares at him angrily, clearly not pleased with the reminder of her age. Hajime then asks if she knows where they are or how to get out, but Yue admits she has no clue. All she knows is that the labyrinth was made by mavericks, former divine messengers who turned against the gods and tried to destroy the world. But their plan failed, and now they're living deep inside the same labyrinth. While exploring further, Hajime finds high magic ore and starts crafting a new rifle. Yue takes this chance to ask a dozen questions. Hajime tells her everything. He explains how the gods summoned him and his classmates to fight demons, but unlike the others, he had no combat skills. Everyone called him useless, and things only got worse when one of his classmates betrayed him during a mission. He fell into the abyss and lost his arm, and from that point, he swore he would survive by any means, even if it meant by eating monsters. Yue feels bad after hearing it all, but Hajime tells her he's not looking for pity. He just wants to go home. She quietly says she doesn't have a home to return to, and that hits him a little. So he invites her to come with him and promises that wherever he ends up, she'll have a place by his side. Shortly after, a group of dinosaur-looking monsters starts chasing them, and no matter how far they run, the creatures don't stop. They notice strange flowers growing on the monsters' heads, acting like parasites controlling them. The duo somehow manages to escape, and during this time, Yue casually helps herself to Hajime's blood like it's her Red Bull. Once she's done, they move into a strange chamber where a green mist starts floating toward them. Before Hajime can even react, Yue suddenly starts attacking him. As it turns out, her body has been taken over by the flower's influence. Hajime then finally comes face to face with the flower monster, which is ugly enough to cause emotional damage. It grabs Yue and makes her shoot Hajime several times. It even tries to control Hajime using her flower technique, but the Giga Chad manages to resist it. Yue, now fully under the monster's control, attacks him without mercy. She feels really bad and urges him to eliminate her, but Hajime carefully shoots at the flower on her head instead. As soon as Yue's freed, Hajime follows up with another shot which finally unalives the monster. Later, Hajime sits down to eat more monster meat and offers Yue some, but she refuses. She instead removes her jacket and proceeds to suck the blood out of him. Afterward, they both descend down the stairs and eventually reach the 100th floor where they come across a strange pond. Just beyond it, they find a massive door. Hajime gets a weird gut feeling that something important is behind it, so without wasting time, he steps forward and opens the gate. Then the two of them enter inside and find themselves in a beautiful area with large pillars all around and a giant door up ahead. As they start walking toward the door, a monster suddenly appears. This one is a dragon-type beast with several heads, and it rushes toward Hajime to attack. It immediately launches a fireball, but Hajime dodges and counters with his own attack, opening fire on the monster with his gun. At first it seems like they've managed to unalive it, but then a white-colored monster appears. This one has the power to heal, and it revives the fallen monster along with others around it. Now it becomes clear that their real target is the white monster, because as long as it's alive, the other monsters keep coming back to life. Hajime and Yue realize they must eliminate the white one before anything else. At this crucial moment, Yue starts hallucinating. She sees a vision of Hajime walking away and leaving her behind. She screams in panic, thinking he's abandoning her, but it turns out to be an illusion created by the enemy. In reality, Hajime lifts her up and tries to escape the area by jumping out. The deadweight Yu has fallen unconscious by this point, so Hajime helps her drink a recovery potion. She slowly regains consciousness, and they both agree that they must defeat all the monsters and escape alive. Hajime then takes out his rifle and fires a massive barrage of energy from above. Meanwhile, one of the monsters tries to trap Yue in another illusion, but she snaps out of it quickly and strikes back. Another illusion targets Hajime, but it doesn't even affect him and he ends up shooting the monster point blank. Using his rifle, Hajime locks onto the white monster and fires, and Yue follows up with a powerful Heavenly Blaze magic attack, which wipes out several enemies at once. But due to the amount of power it takes, she collapses from exhaustion. Even though they've managed to unalive many monsters, the white one is still alive and launches another attack from above. Hajime jumps in front of Yue to shield her, but ends up dropping his weapon, injuring himself. He thuds to the ground and starts bleeding heavily, causing Yue to become panicked. The white dragon keeps attacking them, and the situation becomes increasingly dangerous. Yue, realizing there's no time to waste, lifts Hajime using her magic and begins to escape while still being pursued by the monster. When the creature comes close again, Yue grabs the gun, leaps forward like a possessed rat, and shoots directly at its head, causing it to lose control and unleash wildfire attacks. The impact knocks Yue to the ground, and she drops the gun as well. Seconds later, the stubborn dragon gets ready to attack her again. But this time, Hajime suddenly appears and saves her. Carrying Yue in his arms, he asks for her magic support so he can finally finish the monster off. He then gives her the signal to prepare her magic attack while he continues firing bullets at the monster. Hajime even fixes several bombs on a wall nearby and then climbs directly in front of the monster's face, firing at close range. He also shoots the bombs, causing the entire wall to collapse onto the creature. A determined Hajime then activates his transmute skill and asks Yue to use her Azure Blaze attack, which she does. The combination of their powers causes a massive explosion that finally unalives the monster, but Hajime also collapses from the strain. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the sensei of the group, Aiko, complains about how unfair it is to send students into dangerous battles. She's upset because one of her friends has died, and everyone is scared. Upon hearing all of this, the king calmly replies that no one is being forced to fight, so anyone who doesn't want to continue is free to step away. Elsewhere, Kaori and her friends have also ventured deep into the labyrinth. Kaori is lost in thought, still thinking about Hajime and worrying about what happened to him, but her classmates suggest she try to forget about him, because they have to move forward no matter what. Later, Hajime is lying on a bed when a sudden gust of wind causes his eyes to snap open. He looks around and is shocked to find himself with an undressed Yue. Before he can ask what's going on, she hugs him tightly, as she thought he had died. Yuka then explains to him that they're currently in the Maverick's lair. When Hajime asks what happened after the fight, Yuka tells him that he had collapsed, so she brought him here and used holy water to help him recover. Hajime thanks her for saving his life, and the two walk outside to explore the surroundings. They eventually reach a palace, and as soon as they enter one of the rooms, the lights turn on automatically. A skeleton casually sits on a throne in the center, as if it's been waiting for GTA 6.
Here you go again.
Hajime, meanwhile, thinks that this room might have the exit to the outside world. As he steps into a glowing magic circle on the floor, the skeleton suddenly comes to life. The soul inside it introduces himself as Oscar, the one who created this labyrinth, and he congratulates Hajime for passing all the tests. When Hajime tries to ask questions, Oscar tells him not to, explaining that this is only a pre-recorded message and can't respond to any new questions. Oscar says he simply wanted to leave a message for whoever reached this far, to explain the truth of this world. Elsewhere, we see the rest of the students who've reached the 65th floor of the labyrinth. Shizuku feels like they've set a Guinness Book of World Record, completely unaware that their friend was literally on the 100th floor fighting against dragons. However, their captain Emin Elgawa warns them that they don't know what threats lie ahead, so they must stay alert. True to his assumption, the behemoth welcomes them at the same spot he had attacked them earlier. The whole team is shocked as they thought he was dead, but this time, they are prepared and stronger than before. As the battle begins, Kaori boldly tells the enemy that they'll finish him off and won't let him hurt anyone again. When the behemoth charges, Amanagawa slashes at him with his sword and orders everyone to get into position. One of the students blocks an incoming attack, while others charge in with well-coordinated moves. When three of them are about to fall from a ledge, Kaori uses her magic to stop them from falling. She continues using her healing powers to boost the strength of the warriors fighting beside her, while other students battle waves of skeleton monsters. Shizuku rallies everyone to get ready for the next assault. Just then, Behemoth leaps over them and goes straight for a girl standing behind them. She manages to block his attack with her shield, but the Behemoth is too strong and her shield begins to crack. This is when Kaori quickly heals her, saving the girl's life. Following this, Aiko launches multiple attacks on the enemy, while Amanagawa finishes him off with a powerful strike from his magic sword. With this, the team finally wins the fight, and the monster is slain for good. Back with Hajime, he's still listening to Oscar's spirit. The spirit admits he doesn't know exactly why Hajime came here, but he decides to grant him his power, asking him not to misuse it. As soon as the spirit vanishes, Hajime feels intense pain in his head, and the red circle glows once again. He finally gets to know that the gods and mavericks weren't evil but liberators. Later, Hajime realizes that he has learned a new magic spell that lets him add energy to colored minerals, and possibly even give them special qualities. Yue asks if she can learn this magic too. Night falls, and after some practice, Yue comes back and tells Hajime the spell is very hard. Hajime then says, since this place is theirs now, why not give Oscar a proper burial? After doing that, they explore the place and eventually come across a library. Hajime notices a key stuck in the skeleton's finger, which he later uses to open a basement full of ancient artifacts and structures. After seeing all of it, Hajime tells Yuppei that while he does want to return home, they should stay here a bit longer and learn as much as they can. If they want to explore other labyrinths, they'll need to be fully prepared. Some days later, Hajime fits a mechanical arm and Yume massages his back and wraps a bandage around his eye. She also prepares food for him, and Hajime devours it like a starving monk who just broke a 3-year vow of silence. At one point, Hajime even slips a ring onto Yue's finger to show her how big of a simp he is. As he's gained a lot of skills and gathered many powerful tools, Hajime realizes that the Holy Church and the other kingdoms won't stay quiet if they discover what he now possesses. He knows it's only a matter of time before they become targets of the godly beings, and that their journey might lead to a fight against the entire world. Hence, both of them make a vow to protect each other and keep moving forward no matter who they have to defeat along the way. The next day, we see a girl named Shay who's a rabbit but has the body of an OnlyFans star. She's desperately climbing a hill, trying to evade the two-headed dinosaur that's chasing her. Just then, an energy blast ensues and Hajime and Yue drop down from above. The dinosaurs freak out and run away after seeing them, and the duo is also happy that they finally reached the surface. Meanwhile, an overexcited Shay approaches Hajime and starts talking non-stop. He finds her very annoying and tries to leave, but Shay grabs his leg and starts begging him to save her family. Hajime doesn't understand why he should save a rabbit's family that he doesn't even know. Yue eventually chucks her away like trash, and Shay can't understand how they could leave such a beautiful girl like her behind. Soon after, the dinosaur appears again, but Hajime casually eliminates it with the help of his legendary gun. He then urges Shay to let go of his leg and even hits her on the head, but she ignores his personal space and starts rambling about how she's curvier than his girlfriend, so he should at least listen to her. Hajime finds her reasoning ridiculous and smacks her on the head again, but she continues to persist, so the duo eventually gives up and decides to listen to her. Shay then reveals that she was thrown out of her tribe, and soon after, monsters attack them. Her people are unable to defend themselves as they can't control any mana, but Shay can effortlessly do it, and can even use a specialized magic called Future Sight, through which she can see future events. That's how she already knew they were coming and recognized them. Hajime is clearly uninterested, so he creates a bike using his ring and proceeds to leave, but a desperate Shay stops him. She reveals that she knows he's headed for the Great Tree, and promises to guide him there herself. Hajime is still hesitant, but Yue convinces him, and the three of them begin their journey. Meanwhile, Shay's entire family is being chased by monsters as if they owe them money. A giant monster targets a kid and is about to feast on her, but Hajime arrives out of nowhere and unalives it. He then throws Shay in the air and uses her as bait to turn every single monster into burger meat. Within minutes, the danger is averted, and the tribe is finally free from all the monsters. That night, they sleep peacefully for the first time in months, and Shay thanks Hajime for helping them, but he once again acts rude with her. The next day, the entire tribe tells Hajime that they want to become stronger and ask him to train them. Hajime agrees and begins giving them a detailed tutorial on how to fight like a warrior. The entire tribe follows him with all their dedication, and even Shay learns some new fighting moves. After the training is finally over, Shay requests to come along with them on their journey. Hajime wants to know why she's so desperate to accompany them, and she responds that it's because she loves him and wants to stay by his side. On the other side, the tribe's people have gone rogue and are eliminating all the monsters that they come across. This worries Shay, and she wonders what Hajime taught them, but he claims he only taught them to fight. Shortly after, they reach the Great Tree, which is gigantic and has been dead for ages. They find a pillar there, which has the same design as the one at Oscar's palace. Hajime places his ring there, and learns that they have to cross the other 4 labyrinths to gain the special power of regeneration. Before departing, Hajime bids goodbye to the tribesmen who have started calling him master. They insist on going with him to help him out, but Hajime urges them to stay here and train even harder. Meanwhile, Shay remembers a childhood moment where she had asked her mother if she was a monster or the best. She didn't want to become a monster, but Mom assured her that it was okay to be different. Mom also revealed that Shay could do many things that the others couldn't. She then talked about the future and said Shay would meet some wonderful people who would come from outside of this forest and be just like her. Back in the present, the duo finally agrees to take Shay along with them, even though Hajime doesn't like her romantically. But Shay is desperate to change that, as her only goal is to make him eat her cakes. Later, the three head to a gorge and begin looking for the entrance to the labyrinth. While Hajime and Yue are busy checking the map, Shay suddenly says she needs to apply powder on her nose, but Hajime rudely tells her that no cosmetic stores are available in this part of the world. Just then, Shay discovers a cave behind the mountain with a strange signboard, and although someone seems to be speaking to them, they can't see anyone. As they begin searching for a way inside the labyrinth, Shay touches a wall and accidentally falls through it, triggering the wall to bend inward. Hajime immediately fires at the wall and rushes inside, only to find Shay awkwardly hanging there. To make things worse, she's wet herself in embarrassment. Soon, the group finds a stone that mysteriously starts talking to them. Shay tries to smash it with her hammer, but But even after that, the voice continues, leaving her frustrated and disappointed. The trio then proceeds through a hall, where Hajime unknowingly steps on a trap, causing all the gates around them to slam shut. A huge boulder rolls down the staircase toward them, and although they try to use magic, it turns out their spells aren't working in this place. Hajime quickly pulls out his guns and blasts the rock apart, but more boulders keep following. Shay begins smashing the rocks away with her hammer and also intercepts a giant blade coming towards them. Hajime then picks up Yue like she's a sack of potatoes, and begins running as fast as he can while Shay follows from behind. They eventually find themselves back at the exact place they started, realizing they've just been running in circles. Shortly after, Hajime and the girls reach a lower level where inactive mechanical knights stand surrounding them. Just looking at them gives Hajime a strange feeling, so he orders the girls to attack them right away. The trio uses all of the skills they have and begin taking down the knights one after another. But no matter how many they unalive, more knights keep showing up, so they leap onto a moving platform that takes them upward. At the top, a massive creature is casually waiting for them, and she introduces herself as Milady Raisin. Hajime is confused because according to Oscar's notes, Milady Raisin was a human who died long ago. The creature seems shocked that Hajime cleared Oscar's labyrinth, but Hajime demands answers first, otherwise he's ready to fight. He says he's only here for the ancient magic and nothing else. The robotic being insists that she is the real Milady Raisin, and that if Hajime wants the magic, he must first answer some questions. She starts asking about Hajime's goals, and the reason behind his desire for ancient magic. Hajime explains that he was forced into this world against his will and now wants to return home. He desperately needs the ancient magic that allows one to jump between worlds. He then asks the robotic being to hand him the magic, but she refuses to do so. Enraged at the betrayal, Hajime whips out a freaking rocket launcher and blasts it at the robotic being. This is followed up by Shay, who leaps towards the robot and smashes its arm with her hammer. Hajime then fires a few more rounds, targeting its core and joints. This causes the robotic being to drop to the ground, and the trio believes it has been terminated. But when the smoke clears, they're shocked to learn that the enemy is totally fine with not even a scratch on its body. Just then, they see a barrage of rocks coming their way, so Hajime quickly grabs both the girls and jumps from there. When they don't resurface for a moment, the robotic being thinks she's won the battle, but then Hajime pops up from a nearby pillar in true badass fashion. The three of them then launch another attack, but this time it's more coordinated and deadly. Hajime shoots a blast into the robot's core and attaches a device to its body. Yue uses her freezing ability to make sure the robot doesn't move, and then Shay delivers the final blow by hammering the device that has been attached to its body. The blow reaches the core and shatters it, finally bringing an end to the annoying robot. In the aftermath of the battle, Yue pets Shay like a puppy and praises her for being a good girl. This for some reason overwhelms Shay, and she becomes really emotional. Just then, the fallen robot begins speaking with the last bit of its remaining strength. It warns Hajime that if he wants to obtain ancient magic, he'll have to face the very gods. Moving forward, the trio reaches a new area where they meet the real Milady Raisin, a tiny doll-like girl. She tries to act all cute and kawaii, but an enraged Shay smacks her on the head with her hammer. After she calms down, Milady tells them that Hajime and Shay still don't have enough strength to handle ancient magic, but Yuke can already control it with ease. She then hands Hajime a special ring, but he's still not satisfied, so he begins shaking her for more ancient artifacts. Minutes later, as the trio is busy looting treasures, a fed-up Milady pulls a lever, causing a massive gush of water to sweep through the chamber. The trio soon finds themselves inside a river which has some strange animals like an ugly-looking fish. Hajime and Yue immediately manage to get to the shore, but a clumsy Shay ends up drowning. Thankfully, Hajime carries her out of the water and performs mouth-to-mouth resuscitation until she comes back to life. The three then head to a nearby hotel where they decide to spend the night. As they discuss the room arrangements, Yuki suggests putting Shay in a separate room, but the curvy girl strongly objects. She instead proposes that Yuki get a separate room, while she and Hajime can have fun all night. Unfortunately, Shay tells this a bit too loud, and the bystanders are completely stunned by what they just heard. A few days later, Hajime, Yue, and Shay are invited to Chang's house, who's the head of the Adventurers Guild. He is amazed by how the three managed to infiltrate the Raisin Gorge so easily, and now wants their help. Chang reveals that a party of 3 adventurers headed to the northern mountains for a survey, but they never returned. The rescue is particularly important because one of the missing people is Will Kudeta, the son of a powerful count. Chang further reveals that the group were attacked by something extremely strong, so he wants Hajime and his girls to rescue them. Hajime still refuses, but when Chang promises him full guild support if anything goes wrong, Hajime agrees under 2 conditions. He wants new status plates for all 3 of them, and if he ever makes a request, it must be fulfilled without question. Chang accepts the deal, and with that, the trio sets off on their mission. During their journey, they get hungry, so Hajime suggests they eat rice, his favorite dish from his homeland. Nearby at a hotel, Aiko is casually having lunch with her students. She praises them for their hard work and encourages them to continue tomorrow. As they talk white eating, the hotel owner comes to their table to ask how the food is. Everyone says they loved it, but the shady owner is still not satisfied. With a troubled look, he reveals that they've used up their last batch of spices and can't restock because of issues in the mountains. Rumors are swirling around that monsters may be involved, and some adventurers who went to check haven't returned. The owner also reveals that 3 elite guests have been sent there to take care of the situation. At this moment, Hajime and his team arrive at the same hotel, and Aiko immediately realizes that it's her long-lost student. She runs over to him, shocked and emotional, but he coldly tells her that he's not the person she's looking for. However, the stubborn Aiko grabs his hand and starts questioning him, desperate to understand what happened. Seconds later, Hajime sits at a table, casually flips through the menu, and orders curry. As he continues ignoring Aiko, she grows frustrated and demands to know who the two girls are. She and Yu casually say they're his lovers, but this shocks Aiko even more. Thinking he's having a threesome affair with them, she scolds Hajime and calls him disgusting. Eventually, all of them eat together, but Aiko continues to bombard Hajime with a lot of questions. His only response is that he worked really hard, giving no clear explanations, which annoys her even more. Just then, a knight suddenly approaches their table and lectures Hajime about how to speak to superiors. He then insults Shei's large ears, saying they should be cut so she can look more human. The knight also talks rudely to Yue, but she retaliates by calling him a small man. This offends the small man, and he proceeds to teach her a lesson with his sword, but as he reaches for it, Hajime shoots his hand and warns him not to try that again. Meanwhile, one of Aiko's students recalls how Hajime once protected her from skeletons back in the labyrinth, and is stunned to see how much he has changed. He's no longer the weak boy she remembers. He's become ruthless, powerful, and feared. After finishing his meal, Hajime tells Aiko he has no interest in rejoining them, doesn't want to explain what happened to him, and warns them not to interfere with his path again. Later, Shei seems bothered by the knight's comment, wondering if humans really dislike her ears. But Yue tells her not to worry as her ears are beautiful, and even Hajime likes them. As the trio leaves, Aiko promises that she won't give up and is determined to bring Hajime back home. That night, she sits in her hotel room, thinking about everything that happened. Suddenly, Hajime appears in her room, startling the life out of her. She asks how he got in, to which he explains that it's quite easy with the help of his new abilities. They then sit down and begin talking over coffee, and Hajime says he has something really important to disclose. He begins telling her the actual truth why he doesn't want to rejoin her group. In the past, when the ancient gods descended, they threw the world into war. Humans, demons, and countless other beastmen started fighting against one another. During these hard times, a group named the Liberators discovered that the gods were just using them all for entertainment. This prompted them to lose interest in the war, and they decided to resist, but the plan failed. The gods branded them enemies of the church and spread propaganda that they were destroying the world. Humanity turned against the Liberators, who were hunted down like animals. Most were unalived, and the few remaining survivors realized brute force couldn't defeat a god. They thus scattered, creating deadly trials across the world. Anyone who conquered these trials would gain immense power. The Liberators still hope that one day a true champion will rise and destroy the gods' twisted game. Hajime says this is what he learned when he was inside the labyrinth for all these months. Aiko asks if he plans to fight God, but Hajime says he doesn't care about any of that. He only wants to go home, and the labyrinths are just a path to that goal. Now that he said everything, Hajime prepares to leave, but Aiko mentions that Kaori never lost faith in him. She always thought he would return, and she's currently working with a team inside the labyrinth. Hajime warns that friends can be even more dangerous than enemies because they can betray you when you least expect it. He then reveals that he didn't fall into the labyrinth by accident, someone pushed him in. The next morning, as the trio prepares for their mission, Aiko and her group also arrive, asking to join the search for the missing people. Hajime declines and pulls out his bike, but Aiko steps forward and insists on coming. Realizing she won't give up, Hajime agrees and creates a large truck with his ring which will fit all of them. The group then excitedly gets inside and they set out on their mission. On the way, Aiko ends up falling asleep on Hajime's shoulder, much to the annoyance of the other girls. Yue casually comments that Hajime seems to treat Aiko very kindly, so he explains that she's done a lot for him in the past, so it's only fair he treats her well in return. Soon they reach a rocky area, and Hajime activates his drone system. These little machines fly out and start scanning the surroundings, mainly to detect humans or monsters nearby. As the area gets scanned, a few weapons and shield bags come into view, scattered near a cliff. Hajime collects them and the group soon stumbles across a massive footprint. Yue takes one look at it and guesses that whatever left it must be a giant monster. They continue moving and eventually arrive at a waterfall. Hajime senses something behind the cascading water and tells Yue to slice through it. With a precise swing, she creates a path and they walk into the newly revealed cave. Inside, they find a boy lying unconscious on the ground and Hajime casually pokes his nose, causing him to jolt awake. He turns out to be the same loser Will Kudeta that they've been looking for. Hajime introduces himself and says they've come on orders from the Adventurers Guild to save him. Will, who's still shaken and terrified, explains that their party was ambushed by a black dragon. His friends were all eliminated, so he's full of guilt rather than being grateful. Upon hearing this, Hajime grabs him by the collar and tells him bluntly that surviving isn't something to be ashamed of. Night begins to fall and they prepare to leave, but Hajime suddenly senses danger, and right on cue, the black dragon crashes in and launches a surprise attack. Hajime quickly forms a shield to protect everyone from becoming barbecue meat, while Yue jumps in to assist. Shie also comes charging from the side and slams the dragon with her hammer. Yue adds a follow-up magical blast, and together they knock the dragon to the ground. However, just when everyone breathes a sigh of relief, the dragon roars and stands up again. Shie quickly moves in for another strike, but the dragon smacks her with its tail, sending her flying into the river. Hajime retaliates with a rapid barrage of bullets, but the dragon keeps pushing forward and unleashes a powerful energy beam. It is aimed straight at Will, but Yue arrives in the nick of time and blocks it with an ice shield. Realizing that the dragon is targeting the weaklings, Hajime urges Aiko to take everyone else to a safe zone. Once she does, Hajime pulls out his sniper rifle and takes a clean shot. The dragon also breathes fire at the same time, creating a massive explosion that rocks the place. In the aftermath, Hajime quickly punches the dragon in the stomach before detonating a bomb near it. Despite all the damage, the dragon still gets up and tries to fight, but Shie uses her hammer to knock the life out of it. Now, with the beast finally subdued, Hajime pulls out a metal rod and shoves it where dragons really don't want metal rods shoved. This causes the poor beast to scream in a girl's voice, revealing that it's actually a member of the dragonborn race. She begs Hajime to remove the rod from her backside, revealing that her mana is about to end, which means she'll soon transform into her human form. But instead of complying, he keeps shoving the rod deeper and deeper, causing her to almost pass out. Hajime even goes as far as twisting the rod while having a smug grin on his face. Finally, the dragon breaks and admits that she was manipulated. Someone had taken away her freedom and forced her to attack the adventurers, leaving her with no choice. Will doesn't believe her and accuses her of lying, but the dragon insists that her kind never lies. Yo-Yo also backs her up, saying dragons are honest creatures, so she must be telling the truth. The dragon seems touched that a normie like Yu is defending her, but Yu quickly makes it clear that she's actually 300 years old. Meanwhile, Will still doesn't want to forgive the dragon for committing the atrocities, and the dragon agrees to be punished, but she asks for a delay, as there's a bigger threat coming their way. She reveals that a mysterious figure is leading an army of monsters toward a nearby village, and she wants to stop him. An unconvinced Hajime refuses to let her go and proceeds to shove the rod even further, but Yue intervenes at the last second. She believes the dragon isn't lying and urges him to release her. This time, Hajime is finally convinced, and he slowly begins to pull the rod out. As soon as the dragon is free, she transforms into a beautiful woman named Tio. Instead of being angry at Hajime, she actually starts rizzing him up as it turns out she enjoyed the shoving after all. Tio then reminds the group that the army of 60,000 monsters is approaching fast, and they might reach the village in 2 days. She urges them to evacuate all the people as soon as possible. Will begs Hajime to help, but he refuses, saying his only job was to rescue Will, not save an entire village. He then proceeds to leave, but an insanely excited Tio claims that her mana is depleted, so she needs Hajime to carry her. He angrily starts dragging her instead, but Tio loves that as well and begins screaming as if he shoved the rod again. As the monstrous horde continues to advance toward the village, Iko pleads with Hajime to help. She knows that if they don't step in now, all the villagers will be slaughtered. Hajime asks if she's willing to risk the life of her students for the sake of people she doesn't even know. The sensei insists that her students are always her top priority, but she also can't bear to watch innocent people die. Eiko admits that she wasn't able to help Hajime when he needed her most, and she's really sorry about it. Hajime then asks if, no matter what he decides, she'll still be his teacher. She softly agrees, but asks him to at least listen to her before making his decision. Hajime says nothing more and walks off, saying it's time to prepare for the incoming army. He immediately gets to work building a magical boundary around the village, and the villagers rally to support him. The women and children are evacuated while the others prepare food and help distribute supplies to the defenders. Later that evening, Aiko approaches Hajime and offers help with anything he might need. He calmly tells her that the monsters are coming, and he's ready. That night, as Hajime is busy prepping missiles, a desperate Tio approaches him. She wants to fight by his side and insists she'll do whatever it takes. She even starts calling him master, and says she wants to help him win the battle. Hajime tries to refuse her, but even his harsh words excite the girl, as she has been dreaming of eating him ever since the rod incident. Yu and Shay observe everything from afar and are filled with slight jealousy. As the night deepens, the monstrous army finally approaches. Hajime then suddenly declares Aiko as the goddess of agriculture, who has summoned all of the heroes, including him, to fight the monsters. The villagers immediately start chanting her name, making Aiko blush like a ripe tomato. Hajime then announces that their victory is guaranteed because they now have a divine protector on their side. After this, Hajime pulls out his classic sniper and begins his assault on the enemy forces. Yue and Shay also equip themselves with rocket launchers, while Tio uses her dragon magic to take down the monsters. In just a matter of seconds, the battle heats up. Fireballs, tornadoes, and all kinds of magical attacks fly through the air. The monsters begin to fall one by one, but the heroes also start getting tired. When Hajime eventually runs out of ammo, he jumps onto his bike with Shay and heads out for a direct assault. Yu, meanwhile, unleashes an electric dragon spell to clear a path. Hajime and Shay then push deep into the enemy ranks, mowing down monsters as they go. Hajime doesn't even sustain a single scratch as he brutally unalives the monsters one after another. Shay, on the other hand, uses her brute strength to knock some away and even scares a few off. One wolf tries to pounce on her, but she slams it into the ground effortlessly. The two then finally come across the hooded person who's responsible for all this mayhem. Hajime takes down his wolf companion, and upon seeing his face, he's shell-shocked. It's one of Aiko's students named Shimizu, who had gone missing a while ago. After the battle is over and all the monsters are dead, Shimizu is brought in front of Aiko. She asks why he did all this, to which Shimizu reveals that he joined forces with the demons, because they treated him like he was someone special. Shimizu also believed that if he unalived Aiko, the demons would see him as a hero. However, things didn't go according to plan, and even his army of 60,000 demons was not enough. He wonders where Hajime got such powerful weapons and who he really is. Despite the chaos he has caused, Aiko gently takes Shimizu's hand and says she understands his pain. She knows that Shizuku wanted to feel special like the influencers on TikTok. But siding with demons and trying to unalive his own teacher isn't the way. Aiko then asks him to let go of the past and start over. However, even after all that lecture, Shizuku backstabs Aiko and quickly holds her at syringe point. He threatens to insect her with a toxic serum if the others don't drop their weapons. While most of them comply right away, Hajime refuses to hand over his weapons as he knows this won't end well. At this intense moment, Shay lunges forward to rescue Aiko, but someone shoots Shizuku from behind. Hajime spots the unknown person escaping on a dragon and fires a shot, but it doesn't do much damage. Meanwhile, Aiko was accidentally injected with the serum during the scuffle and now she lies on the verge of death. Hajime knows she doesn't have much time, so he drinks the holy water and then transfers it to her, prompting her to slowly regain consciousness. Meanwhile, the traitor Shizuku is slowly bleeding to death due to the bullet wound. Aiko selflessly pleads with Hajime to save her student, but he firmly refuses, as the guy just tried to eliminate his own teacher. Hajime then turns to Shizuku and fires several rounds, ending his pathetic life once and for all. Aiko is stunned by what just happened, but Hajime tells her not to dwell on it and walks away. On the road back, Will quietly asks Hajime why he had to unalive Shizuku. After all, he was going to die in a few minutes anyway. Hajime doesn't say a word, but Yue reveals that if he hadn't finished off the traitor, Aiko would have spent the rest of her life blaming herself. She would have carried that guilt forever, and so Hajime took that burden onto himself. Down in the sewers, a group of shady people are discussing a secret plan. They've recently captured a rare monster girl and are planning to sell her for a good amount. Hajime, on the other hand, successfully brings Will to the guildmaster and completes his part of the deal. He later asks for one extra status plate so he can register Tio as well. One back in their room, the three girls chat non-stop as if tomorrow's the apocalypse, while Hajime stands by the window, observing something suspicious outside. Tio reminds Hajime that he once promised to take her on a city tour if she trained hard. But Hajime stays focused on the strange figures moving around. He mutters that whoever is watching them is going to die, whether they're human, beast, or a floating pair of eyeballs in a trench coat. At this moment, Tio suddenly becomes lost in thought. She recalls her father telling her long ago that although their enemies were powerful and dangerous, they weren't invisible. He believed that someday someone would come along strong enough to challenge even a god. After growing up, Tio returned to her village, where she sensed something strange happening. An old man revealed that the gods have summoned thousands of alien beings. Determined to protect her people, Tio made the bold decision to investigate, even though she didn't know what awaited her. In the present, Hajime takes Shay out for the promised city tour, and they roam around like confused tourists. She eventually drags him into an aquarium, where they come across a talking fish named Lehman. Hajime, being his rude self, tries to make fun of the fish, but it fires back with some insults of its own. This genuinely impresses Hajime, and the two end up chatting for a long time as if they're a couple. Later on, Hajime and Shay decide to release the talking fish in the river, and as they bid goodbye, Lehman reveals that a merfolk girl was also brought in the aquarium, but she was soon stolen. Lehman warns that there's a huge gang of slavers in the city, so a monster girl like Shay should watch out. Meanwhile, Yue and Tio are buying groceries in the market like a responsible couple. Tio casually asks Yue if she's okay with how close Hajime and Shay have become. The vampire girl says she doesn't mind at all, because if Hajime likes someone, she likes them too. On the other side, Shay is eating ice cream with Hajime and asks if he's happy that Tio joined their team. He clarifies that she didn't join the team but forced her way into it like a stubborn leech. He also says that Tio isn't a bad person, but she acts dirty most of the time. Just then, Hajime freezes as he senses the presence of something evil underground. He and Shay thus go to investigate and soon end up in the sewers, where they find a little girl locked up. It turns out she was being held by traffickers who were planning to sell her. After rescuing her, Hajime quickly takes her back to their room, where she regains consciousness. He gently asks her name, and she says Mew, after which he introduces himself and Shay. Since the girl is hungry and sick, they quickly wash her up, give her warm food, and dry her hair. Mew enjoys all of this, and is genuinely happy to be with these strangers. She then reveals that she was separated from her family and captured by bad people, the same kind Layman had warned about. Now that she has been rescued and is out of danger, Shay asks what to do with her. Hajime says they should hand her over to the city guard, as it is the only sensible thing to do. Upon hearing this, Miu runs over to Hajime and hugs him tightly, unable to stop crying. Later, Hajime hands over Miu to the city guard and she angrily asks if he hates her, but he doesn't say a word and simply departs from there. As Hajime and Shay walk towards their room, they notice an explosion nearby. This leaves them worried and they quickly rush back, only to discover that the city guards have been unalived by someone. There's also a cryptic message written on the wall which tells Hajime to bring over the bunny girl if he wants to see Miu alive. Infuriated by the pathetic act, Hajime vows to find Miu and punish whoever's behind this. Elsewhere, Tio and Yue are having coffee together when a man suddenly bursts through the wall beside them. It turns out to be the doing of Hajime, who quickly explains the entire scenario to the girls. He was trying to extract information from the man but couldn't get anything. Hajime thus asks his entire team to help him out, and they begin a city-wide search. They eventually reach an underground house where the group of traffickers are chilling. The girls quickly use their powers to obliterate the disgusting men while Hajime heads deeper in search of Miu. He soon finds her being harassed by a man, so Hajime shoots him on the spot with zero hesitation, seeing that he came to rescue her again. An emotional Miu rushes to hug him. Hajime then flies up into the sky with her, and they watch on as the other girls dismantle the entire trafficking ring. With peace now restored, Hajime brings Miu to the ground where the other girls are waiting for them. She meets all of them and even hugs Yue tightly as if she's her mom. Miu then turns to Hajime and calls him Big Bro, a name he doesn't like. He asks her to call him by his name instead, but the little girl now starts calling him Papa. The next day, Hajime drives everyone out of the town in his car, but it's Shia who's riding the bike. She makes sure to flaunt herself and look like a complete bellend. Inside the car, Miu insists that she wants to take the wheel, but Hajime refuses and promises to teach her later. He has fully embraced his father role and has even started addressing Miu as daughter. They soon reach a market, and Hajime starts reminiscing about his past memories with his friends. Miu asks why he's so gloomy, to which Hajime reveals that he was here 4 months ago, although it feels like years. The group then goes to meet the head of the guild, Loha, and Hajime immediately hands him a letter from Chong. Loha reads the letter and finds it hard to believe that a scrawny loser like Hajime wiped out 60,000 monsters and destroyed an evil organization in a single afternoon. Just then, a boy rushes in with an urgent message for the guild leader. Monsters have appeared in the labyrinth. Loha asks who sent the message, and the boy looks at Hajime and immediately recognizes him. Hajime then says the name Endo, and they greet each other as it turns out they are classmates. Endo is shocked to see how much Hajime has changed and become a completely different person, but he's glad to see him alive. Endo then pleads with Hajime to help them in the labyrinth, or else everyone there will die. In a flashback to a few hours ago, Amanogawa and his team are deep inside the labyrinth. They arrive at a sketchy place, and Shizuku immediately senses that something bad is about to happen. The group then finds monster blood splatter all across the floor, which means that something even bigger is lurking around. Before they can even figure out what it is, a demon with massive airbags and a raven on her shoulder appears from the shadows. She tries to persuade Amanogawa's team to join them, revealing that one of their friends has already accepted the offer and joined the demon side. However, Amanogawa flat out refuses and prepares to fight her instead. The demon woman then unleashes a barrage of giant monsters which begin to attack the group one by one. Kaori and the rest try their best to fight back, but the monsters prove to be overwhelming and no attack seems to make any real impact. Moreover, even if any of the monsters get slightly injured, the demon woman manages to heal them with the help of her creepy raven. Realizing that they're outmatched and outmuscled, the group tells Endo to use his camouflage to sneak out of this labyrinth and call for help. He's hesitant to leave them alone, but eventually agrees for the sake of others. Amanogawa, in a burst of rage, uses his sword to slice through one of the monsters completely. However, when a young girl tries to stop the next wave, cat-type monsters pierce through her stomach, turning her into stone. This devastates the entire group, and Shizuku urges that they run away from here immediately. When Amanogawa refuses and says they should keep fighting, she spanks him on the face to knock some sense into him. Meanwhile, Endo reaches the 17th floor, where he meets Captain Meld and explains everything in detail. Suddenly, a monster attacks them as it turns out Endo's camouflage wasn't that good after all. Meld fights it off and tells Endo to go inform the others outside, while he stays behind to hold off the enemy. This is why Endo came to the guild in the first place, to seek help. Back inside the labyrinth, the group has abandoned the fight and is trying to run as fast as they can. But when they get tired, the thoughts stop at a place and discuss their next move. Two of the members think it's best to join the demon woman so that all this bloodshed will end, but Amanogawa warns them not to trust the demon. As the group is busy discussing, Captain Meld appears in a severely injured state. He tries to tell them something, but a monster suddenly attacks him from behind, unaliving him on the spot. Soon, the demon woman also shows up, ready to finish off the remaining humans. The death of his captain leaves Amanogawa infuriated, and he decides to unleash his full power. He unlocks something called the limit break, and begins slicing the monsters like he's playing Fruit Ninja. At the guild office, Endo pleads with Hajime to rescue the group as they're his friends as well. However, Hajime replies coldly that they are not his friends, just strangers who happen to come from the same town. Meanwhile, Amanogawa launches a full power attack on the demon, who protects herself with a barrier. Amanogawa is so incensed that he breaks through the barrier and is about to eliminate her, but he suddenly stops when her pendant falls open, which has a picture of her with her lover. The distraction proves to be costly as a monster emerges from the ground and punches Amanogawa high in the sky. On the other side, Endo is down to his knees, pleading with Hajime to save his friends. This time, even the other girls urge him to save them and suggest they all go together. Down at the labyrinth, Kaori's mana has almost been exhausted, and she can no longer heal her injured friends. Shizuku is the only one left standing, and she charges at a monster to unalive it, but gets punched so hard that she starts vomiting blood. Kaori rushes to her and promises she'll never leave her side no matter what happens. They then hold hands and pray as two giant monsters come to finish them off. But just when all hope seems to be lost, a large iron rod penetrates both the monsters, unaliving them in an instant. As everyone breathes a sigh of relief, Hajime makes a grand entrance, leaving Kaori totally stunned. In a flashback to a few minutes ago, Hajime and his team are following Endo through the dark labyrinth. They are running as fast as they can, but they know time is running out with each passing second. This is why Hajime suddenly stops and pulls out one of his giant gadgets. With the help of it, he starts drilling the ground like he's about to search for oil there. Once the hole is big enough, Hajime casually dives in, followed by the other girls. He lands straight into the floor where the demon woman has cornered his teammates. When he eliminates the two monsters, Kaori instantly recognizes him and is shocked, while Shizuku can barely believe this is even the same Hajime they once knew. Nobody recognizes him at first because of his completely changed appearance and bionic arm. But when Kaori calls him by his name, they are left stunned. The rest of the team soon arrives. Hajime instructs them to protect everyone, while he handles the big boss himself. He confronts the demon directly and warns her that if she doesn't want to die, she should just leave. But this demon is as stubborn as a cat who refuses to bathe, and chooses to fight instead. So Hajime calmly activates his instinctual magic and starts gunning down every invisible monster in sight with perfect precision. Kaori watches in awe as Hajime casually wipes out all the enemies like he's clearing trash from his lawn. He uses a combination of guns and his magical skills to eliminate the creatures one after another. The demon panics and sends a giant turtle monster charging at him, but Hajime deflects its attack at the woman, injuring her. He then finishes off both the turtle and the annoying raven, leaving the demon vulnerable and angry. Just as the battle heats up, Amanogawa wonders who this insanely powerful and handsome guy is. Endo tells him that it's Hajime, but Amanogawa refuses to believe it. A guy named Hiyama even grabs Endo by the collar, saying Hajime is dead and can't possibly be back. For some reason, he seems to be really angry that his classmate is alive. The demon woman refuses to give up and conjures up more monsters, but Hajime's gang quickly pushes them back. Yue casts a black hole to suck in some monsters. Shaya uses her hammer to crush enemy after enemy like she's Thor, and Tio goes full ballistic to tear apart the helpless creatures. Suddenly, a massive snake charges toward Shizuku, so Hajime throws a sword toward her. She immediately uses it on the snake and slices it in half like a ripe banana. Shizuku is left amazed by how light and effective this seemingly normal-looking sword is. The demon, meanwhile, asks who Hajime really is, but before he can respond, she crashes a boulder on top of him. Miyu yells out Papa, and Kaori is stunned to hear that. Thinking she has finally killed the main guy, the demon tries to run, but Hajime suddenly throws a rod from the pile of rubble, stopping her in her tracks. She can't understand how he's able to break her high-level magic and wonders if he's really human. Hajime bluntly tells her no, not anymore. He then shoots both her legs, knocking her down and demanding she tell him her intentions. The demon refuses and smugly says her lover will eventually come and kill him. But Hajime is the least concerned about that, and he boldly declares that he'll fight God if he has to. He then raises his gun at the demon, attempting to unalive her. Amanagawa tries to stop him, saying the demon is defenseless, but an unfazed Hajime pulls the trigger anyway, ending her miserable life. In the aftermath, the survivors try to recover using the holy water, while the girls tend to the injured. Yue and Hajime end up in a romantic moment, but Shay interrupts them, reminding them they're not in a private room. Kaori then approaches Hajime and expresses how happy she's to see him alive. Tears begin rolling down her face as she apologizes for not being able to save him that day in the labyrinth. Kaori then hugs him tightly, causing all the other girls to stare at her angrily. It is evident that they're jealous of this new nurse girl. After the group recovers, they make their way out of the labyrinth, and Amanagawa angrily confronts Hajime, saying he shouldn't have killed the demon as she had already surrendered. However, Hajime couldn't care less, as to him, she was the enemy. He also mentions that Amanagawa is salty because he didn't get to be the hero. Hajime bluntly reminds him this is how the world works. Either you kill, or get humped by a monster. Mercy is not a luxury he affords anymore, and if Amanagawa keeps talking, he'll get the same treatment. Hajime also makes it clear that they are not friends anymore, and the only reason he came here is because he owed Shizuku a favor. Now that the task is done, he will leave them and never see their disgusting faces again. Shizuku realizes how much Hajime has changed, though Kaori still believes that he's the same person he once was. The group then leaves the area, only to find the guild leader waiting for them with a massive army. It turns out the leader didn't think Hajime would defeat the monsters, so he had summoned backup. But now that he's made himself look like a donkey, he apologizes to Hajime. Meanwhile, Kaori gathers her courage and bluntly tells Hajime that she's coming with them. Yue asserts that she doesn't have what it takes to keep up, but Kaori assures her that she'll be fine. She then makes matters even more awkward by suddenly announcing that she loves Hajime. He honestly tells her that he's in love with someone else and can't reciprocate her feelings. This stings Kaori a lot, but she still insists on joining them, declaring that she's ready for the journey. She even challenges Yue by saying she can love Hajime even more than she does. To everyone's shock, Yue accepts the challenge and agrees to let her join the group. The two girls then engage in an intense stare-down, as if they're posing for an upcoming UFC match. Seconds later, Kaori suddenly grabs Hajime by the collar and asks why Miu calls him Papa and who her mother is. She believes that he's knocked up one of the three girls from his group and has become a playboy. She keeps screaming like a possessed lady, but thankfully, Shizuku grabs her and takes her away. As night falls, Hajime stands quietly outside the base, and Shizuku comes to speak with him. She tries returning him the sword he gave her earlier, but Hajime asks her to keep it. He reveals that it's made from the strongest elements in the world and can cut through literally anything. The next morning, Kaori bids an emotional goodbye to her team and gets into the car with the others. She wants to sit beside Hajime, but the others tell her that Yue is the only one who gets to sit there. Just then, little Mue says a forbidden word, which causes Hajime to almost lose control of the vehicle. Comment down below, Monster Energy, if you watched till the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.